Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sulh or conciliation and settlement in the Hanbali school. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalam ala Rasul al-Kareem. Allahumma atina nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha. Allahumma wa shukna. Amma ba'd. The praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may the blessings and peace be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We follow the example. We're going in the Hanbali school, Imam al-Sunnah, where he mentions things from the hadiths and the narrations. And the next section, we're on the sulh. The sulh is a conciliation or settlement in the business. And do you like to read the first one, Sheikh Omar?
It is allowed for one to grab part of his own.
Okay, so one of the things that a person they have a settlement is if a person owes, if a person they're owed money from somebody, so a person they can drop the amount. They can drop all of it. They say keep it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah. If somebody is in difficulty, if a person they drop it, it's considered as sadaqah, as charity for the person, or they can drop some of it and they'll be rewarding for the person to tell the person, like if a person they owe the person $1,000, they tell the person, okay, I'll drop 500, just give me 500 back. That's one way to do it. And read number two, Faisal.
ووهب غنيمه بعض العين التي في يده جازا.
Yes. So, or he can give the person, he could work the other way around. Let's say a person they want to give somebody more of his property, he could do that, but that'll be like considered as a gift. You know, if a person they owe somebody like let's say $1,000, and the person they say I'm going to give you $200 as a tip. No, that's something that's allowed. That's what he means by that. Number two is a settlement. No,
That's a thing?
no, that's what he's talking about when you have a settlement.
Somebody, you gave somebody like a basket of apples, and he said you have to return it tomorrow, a basket of apples. He says, okay, you tell the person, you don't have to give me the whole basket, give me half the basket.
Yeah, that's the first one, where a person they owe the money, that the person says, just give me a little bit of it back. Don't give me it all back.
That's in terms of money.
Yes.
Ayn is the physical.
Yes, objects too. That means it's not just cash or gold and silver. It could be anything that a person they owe for the person. The second one is of a person they're giving something as a gift. Basically, that's what they're saying. They have a contract with somebody, but the person they're going to give them extra as a gift. Okay, that's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about settlement and conciliation.
That
Uh,
has not been fall into riba.
no, that's not. They didn't agree on it beforehand. This is afterwards. If they agreed on it beforehand, before they did that, then that's haram. That's riba. But this is the just afterwards. The person they're going to give somebody more.
Okay, so is it okay, like for example, if I I get like $50 from my brother, and then as a gift I can give him 100.
Yes, you could do that because the extra 50 is a gift for him. That's okay to do that. But if he made that a condition in the beginning,
Oh,
I'll give you 50, then you have to give me 100 back, and that's not allowed. That's the
but
riba.
if it's not conditioned, then it's allowed.
Right? Yes, that's the point for it. There's also issue if it comes afterwards because it says a conciliation and settlement. That means the two people are arguing and fighting, and then so that we'll talk about that afterwards. There's going to go to those points afterwards, inshallah. Did you read number three, Hamza? You get the new one. You grab this. So we're talking about settlement or conciliation. A person, if they gave a loan to somebody, they can drop part of the loan, or if a person, if they have a contract with somebody, they can give somebody more, in their contract. Okay, read number three.
ما لم يجعل وفاة الباقي شرطا في الود في الهبة
Mm-hmm. Al-abra'a.
والأمراء.
Yes. Okay, so this is the what the Sheikh he says in the Hanbali school, that if a person, let's say a person they owed somebody $1,000, then a person they go to him and they'll say, I'm only going to pay you back 500. Can you let me go on it? Or not? Can you let me go? Say, let me go on it. I can give you 500. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you nothing. Is that allowed?
Yeah. That's exactly what he's saying.
No, it's not allowed.
Hmm?
It's not allowed.
Okay. Well, that's in the Hanbali school. Hanbali, that's what Ahmad Ibn Hanbal says. That that's not allowed because that's like depriving the person of his right. I'm only going to give you 500. I'm not going to give you nothing. That's not right. That's what the Hanbali school says. But the other schools, they say that it's a settlement. You know, it's a settlement. That means an agreement. So then they say if they both of them agree to it, then that would be allowed. That's what they'll say in the other schools. But the Hanbali school says that's not right because they're telling the person, I'm only going to give you 500. Take it or leave it. No, that's what they say.
So even though you are not happy, you agree with it. It's not just telling you.
No, there's a difference of opinion in the schools of whether that's allowed or not. Now, let's say a person they owe somebody $1,000, right? He has 500. Then he goes to the person, take the $500 and drop the rest, or I'm not going to give you nothing. So what's that other person going to say?
Like that is like you forcing me to agree with you.
Yes.
because I don't
Yes.
agree.
So that's the
Like,
point.
It's like saying instead of getting nothing, I'm as well.
Right. Exactly.
I'm
That's the
not
point.
happy with it.
That's the point. So the other person says, he thinks to himself, he's giving me 500. I might as well take this. Otherwise, I'm not going to get nothing.
Yeah, but
Then he says, okay, give me 500. I'm going to drop the rest. Is that allowed? So what happens in the Hanbali school? They said that's not allowed because the person, they're taking away the right from the other person. The other schools, they said it is allowed because the other person agreed to it. He agreed to it. He took it. He said, yes, I accept it.
but we have to define agreement because I only agree because
You're right. Yes, that's the point.
I'm not happy.
That's why in the Hanbali school they say it's not allowed. But the other schools they say that's an agreement between the two. So then it's allowed. People can agree to anything, right?
But that's a forced agreement.
Yeah. I mean that's why the Hanbali school says it's not allowed. The other schools they say it's just an agreement, so it's allowed to do. People can agree to anything they want. If the person wants, he can drop the whole debt and say, here, that's his agreement, right?
But you threat. You know?
Yes. So the Hanbali schools they say it's not allowed because of that reason, because you're taking advantage of the other person. The other schools they say if the other person agrees to it, then it's valid. If he didn't like it, then don't agree to it. You still owe me the 1,000. That's it.
And then leave it down.
He might never get paid. Who knows? If he gets paid or not. And that's why he'll agree to it. But if he doesn't have to agree to it. He doesn't want to. And then the person will still owe him 1,000.
But he say he's never gonna give me.
Oh, then maybe the person won't give him the 500 either. So what you're gonna do? That's what happens, in cases.
Yeah,
But you
it's
have
reality
the
check.
we had that lesson on the other one on the loans. Where somebody, if they owe somebody some money and they don't pay it, then they have what's called the seizure, bankruptcy and seizure. Remember we did that lesson. Then he's put in prison if he has the money, he doesn't want to pay it, and then he's got to pay it back. And if he doesn't pay it back, then it's seized the stuff that he has and it's given back to people that he owed the money to.
How about is like it happens too? Like maybe recently, I know somebody you owe them 5,000, and they say
Yes.
you didn't owe me 5,000. I only remember 4,000, so I'm gonna give you 4,000, or else I'm not gonna give you nothing.
Yes. Yeah, that's the point here.
Like that's what
In the Hanbali school, they say that's not allowed. That's haram, forbidden. The other schools, they say because the other person agreed to it, that's a settlement they have, that's a conciliation they have, so it's allowed. That's what they say. There's a difference of opinion in the madahib, in the different schools. So that's what the sheikh is saying. He's saying that that's not allowed. In the Hanbali school, Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, he says that. Exactly for that reason, because the person they're taking advantage of the situation. Okay, read number 4. 4 it goes into more detail.
or except if he goes with it,
Mhm.
then he is right.
Yes. So that's the point. Like a person, they come up with a 500, so take it or that's it. I'm going to deny your rights unless you go with it. Or if they had an agreement, like let's say the person, they say, I have the right to stay in your house, and for agreement, and the person says, take this or you're not going to be allowed to stay in my house. I mean, deprive him of something else that he has a right for. It's not allowed to do that, no? All right, let's go to number 5.
أو يضع بعض المؤجل
Mm-hmm.
ليعجل له الباب.
Yes, so the Sheikh even goes in more detail. even the agreement, it can't be, let's say a person, they said they had to pay back 1,000 by the end of this month. Then the person says, I'll give you 500 now, but I won't give you the rest until next month. And the person, no, he agrees to it. No, the sheikh, he said that's not allowed to do that because you have to give him 1,000 immediately when it was due. You can't make it a condition that only take a little bit now and give a little bit later, because that's changing the terms of the agreement.
Like for example, if somebody you give him the whole amount and you expect it for them
Yes.
to give to you
So
the whole amount.
you have to pay me by the end of this month. Then the person comes and this is assuming that he has the money and everything. There's no problem with him. He says, I'm only going to give you 500 now. I won't give you the 1,000 until next month. I won't give you the other 500 until next month. Then that's not allowed. That's what the sheikh is saying. Because you're delaying when it's due to pay it. That wasn't the agreement. The agreement was to pay it by this date, and then you're forcing the other person to delay the reception of it.
Is it depend though? Is it like that? Like if the person has the ability to pay
Yes.
the whole money
Yes.
at that time?
Yes.
Or if it doesn't have it, the whole money?
Yeah, I mean, the person don't have the ability, then the person, they have to give them time to pay. That's what's mentioned in the loan. But it's saying over here, the person, they take advantage of the situation, and he says to the person, take this he said, I'm going to pay this, I'm going to give you $1,000 on, let's say, the 10th of the month. Then that was a deal they had, the contract they had. They're going to give him $1,000 on the 10th of the month. So the 10th of the month comes, and he says, no, I'm only going to give you 500. The 500 I'll give you later. So, and the person, what's the other person going to say? And he agrees to it. Okay, give me 500 now and 500 later on. Is this allowed or not? It's a difference of opinion in the madhahib. Hanbali school, they say it's not allowed because the person is in that situation. He's forced to take the 500. He doesn't, because you're forcing the person to only take 500 when he was due the 1,000 on that date. The other schools, they say it's allowed because that's the agreement that they had. They agreed to it. It's the same thing like the first situation. The person said, I'll only give you 500 or nothing. And the person said, okay, just give me 500. And the difference of opinion in the madhahib, whether that's allowed or not. So the same point over here, to delay when the person, they're going to pay the whole amount. All right, inshallah. Let's go to number 6 and read it. Number Hamza. Yes, so if a person, they were going to pay the person back in gold, they can pay him back in silver. Back in the old days, they used to have the currency, the gold currency, and the silver currency. And the gold currency they used to have in dinars, and in silver they used to have dirhams. So what happens if a person, they were going to give somebody like 10 dinars, for example, then they can give them silver if the other person agrees to it, or vice versa. If the person, they had to give silver, then they can give gold if the other person agrees to it. And actually, he doesn't say over here they have to agree to it. They can because that's the next point, number 7.
If one,
Yes, you read that one.
if one
Goes by.
If one goes by that day's exchange rate.
Yes. So that means that, because what happens is with the dirhams and the dinars, the silver and the gold, the exchange rate changed over time. Sometimes you had 8 dirhams for 1 dinar, and sometimes you had 12 dirhams for 1 dinar. So the value would be different. So the sheikh is saying that you can, if you owe somebody dinars, you can give them dirhams. If you owe somebody dirhams, you can give them dinars, but you have to go with that day's exchange rate between the two. So you can't go by a different date's exchange rate. Then, then it's like looking at it like similar to riba. That's what it might be. Okay, is that clear on the explanation? When you go on that day's exchange rate, okay, inshallah. Read number 8. Yes. So when the two people are together, they take it at that gathering, not owe it later. That's problematic when you have to pay things later on and then you change it from gold to silver. It might be different, and then there would be riba. So that's why he says, and that's based on the hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that it's got to be the same amount, and it's got to be hand to hand, like immediately at that gathering. So that's the other point that he has. It's got to be at that gathering. Can't be saying I'm going to give you this tomorrow or I'm going to give this next week. If you're changing it from gold to silver or you're changing silver to gold. Okay, shall I read number 9?
ومن كان له دين
Mm-hmm.
على غيره لا يعلمه المدعى
Mm-hmm.
عليه فصالحا على شيء جاز.
Okay, read the English.
Whoever has a debt can change the payment type to something allowed the creditor does not know about with his settlement.
Yes. Yeah, so that means a person, they can change how they pay the person they owe money to if he agrees to it. Like, let's say a person, they owe somebody $20 or $50, for example, and the person says, okay, I owe you $50, I'll give you this bike instead. That's fine to do that. That's the point there. The person, they can change what they pay the person with if it's agreed upon on the person they owe money to, that they owe the thing to. And sometimes that happens, sometimes a person, they might owe somebody some money, and then the person says, I can't pay you back, I don't have this money, but I have this phone or I have this purse, I'll give you this instead. And the person says, okay, that's fine. So that's what he's saying. That settlement is allowed. Okay, is that clear? Okay, inshallah. Let's go to number 10.
If
And-
one of the two parties is known to be dishonest,
Mhm.
the settlement in reality is now.
Yes, that's what the Sheikh is saying. Sometimes you have dishonest people, crooked people. And so he's saying that if a person, they settle on something, somebody that's a crook, is a liar, so then obviously he's going to say something that's not true, and then that's not going to count. It's not going to be a valid settlement. Because anything that is not correct and not halal, then it doesn't count as a valid contract. All right, inshallah. Okay, let's go to the last point, number 11.
وإن كان أحدهما يعمل كذب نفسه والصلح في نفسه باطل.
Read the English.
I'm still thinking about the meaning of this. وإن كان أحدهما يعلم كذب نفسه.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody knows that his own self is deceitful, then the settlement in his right is invalid.
Yeah, I talked about that
The
already.
person knows that he's lying, and then he makes a settlement based on a lie, then his settlement is going to be invalid.
Okay, inshallah. Okay, inshallah.
I didn't catch that.
No, okay, inshallah.
ومن كان له حق على رجل لا يعلمان قدره فاصطلحا عليه جاز.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone has a right on another person and neither of them know the amount, and they just come to an agreement on some amount, then that is allowed.
Yes, okay. So that's like the agreement. If the two people agree on something, they're not sure of how much it was. The person, they say, I gave you something 20 years ago, I forgot how much it was. Then the person says, okay, I'll estimate it. I think maybe I gave you 20, maybe I gave you 50. And the other person, just give me 20. Then that's allowed to do that. So if they're not sure of what's due on each other, and if they agree to each other to accept it, then that's allowed to do that as a settlement. Okay, that's the last point. All right, inshallah. So let's go back to the beginning of this. What happens is, if somebody owes somebody something or they have to pay something to somebody, it's not allowed for that person to go and tell the person to, that's what they say in the Hanbali school. They say to reduce it or I'm not going to give you anything. That's not allowed to do that because the person, they're not given the right of the other person. Because the other person, he'll say, unless I accept this, I'm not going to get nothing, so I might as well accept this and then agree to drop the rest. And then the Sheikh, he said, in the Hanbali school, he said, that's not allowed. That's what you're doing. The other person, they're going to do that because he's forced to do it. So he has that point on it. But the other schools, they allow that. Like in the other schools besides the Hanbali school, they say if the two people agree to something, then that's it. The agreement counts, So that's the difference in the schools and the settlement. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. Let's go to question and answer. Do you have any questions or comments, Sheikh Omar?
About the agreement is still is not settling with me, like because the agreement is two types. One is the one you are happy to make that agreement,
Yes.
and the other one is the one you mentioned a threat. Okay, you get this or you're not gonna get nothing at all.
Right.
And
Yes.
it's like so that's why I don't know if that is still considered as an agreement because I was forced to accept the terms.
No, the person he doesn't have to accept it. He can still say no. You have to give me all of it. I'm not going to accept that. The person still owes that person that.
But
But the
even though
problem is
he
he didn't pay it back on time. That's the problem. No.
yeah, but even though he owes it, but you already say that I'm not gonna give you the full amount. I will only give you the amount I wanted to give you. And
Yes.
if you don't want to take it, then you're not getting anything.
Yes. Yes. So that person is doing wrong. But the other person agrees to it. That's what they're saying. Then would that be valid or not? So the other school they say yes, that's valid because the other person agreed to it. But the Hanbali school they say it's not allowed because of that reason that you're saying, because the other person is like forced to accept it. Otherwise, he's not going to get nothing. That's what they say in the Hanbali school. No, that's exactly the point.
So in that case, the, like depending on the person, if they accept it, if not accepted, then we just leave it.
Right. Yes. We left out about that.
The day of
Then he
judgment.
has other problems, and after that, that's the issue. That's why the Hanbali school they say that. The other school they say people come to different agreements, and if they come to agreement, then you take it. So,
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah
Alhamdulillah.
khairan.
Yeah, jazakallah khair. May Allah reward you. Ma'am Faisal, did you have any